Australia is open and it's yours to explore. There are cities to discover, stars to sit under, and there's fuzzy, furry, flappy, funny mates to meet. So it's time to dive in and pull up a seat, because stories like these just have to be shared. And all of this, and this. Yep, this is where you can find a story of your own. So book a flight and pack your bags, because Australia is yours to explore. Come and say g'day.
Quadrupled the number of arrivals from India to Australia over the past decade, and India has been one of the fastest growing inbound markets for tourism in Australia. And Chennai, a company called Abbott, who used to sell products like Pediasure, Ensure, Similac, Isomil. I was responsible for setting up of the distribution network in the whole state of Tamil Nadu. So I've traveled not just in Chennai, but Coimbatore, Madurai, Trichy, Tirunelveli, Kumbakonam as well. So yeah, quite an exciting state. And at that time, the retail structure was quite structured in that sense. Like there was food, there was Subiksha, there was Trinetra, there was what was this outlet at Spencer Plaza, food hall, something. Food World.
Which is taken over by Spencer.
Spencer, yes.
Yeah.
Food World, Trinetra, Subiksha was like, and Nilgiris were the top outlets here. And I was like responsible for keeping Pediasures in all the outlets. So had a pretty successful stint then, almost like 18, 20 years back in my Abbott days. So Chennai is pretty close to me, and I've stayed and lived in this city during the entire launch of Pediasure in India and in Tamil Nadu. But today it's all about Australia, and the reason I'm here is because borders have finally opened, and that was our tourism minister, the Trade, Tourism and Investment Minister, Honorable Dan Tian. He was at the Sydney airport on the 21st of February to welcome all the international tourists who landed into Sydney on that particular day. So Australia has finally opened its doors to the world. You do not have to quarantine yourself. Indian tourists do not have to quarantine when they arrive into Australia. All you need is a valid visa. We need a digital passenger declaration, which is similar to the well. So it's very much easy, simplified procedure for entering Australia. And all you need to do is, on arrival within 24 hours, do a self-monitored rapid antigen test. It's a self-monitored test. You do not have to report the results. You only have to report it just in case you test positive during the journey. And that's the only time where you'll have to get in touch with the local health authorities of that particular state and inform them that you've tested positive. But apart from that, it's been quite relaxed, and it's pretty easy to travel to Australia as far as Indian tourists are concerned. Now, Chennai is an important market for us. As I said earlier, it's ranked number 4 for spend and arrivals. Like Mumbai is number 1, Delhi is number 2, Bangalore is number 3, and Chennai is the number 4 market, having close to almost 30,000 visitors, who have travelled from the state of Tamil Nadu. Travelled from the state of Tamil Nadu to Australia during 2019, and these visitors contributed almost close to.
Sorry to interrupt.
These visitors have contributed almost close to $140 million Australian dollars to the Australian economy, and that's close to around 770 crore Indian rupees, which the Indian tourists or the tourists from Tamil Nadu have contributed to the Australian economy. We work very closely with the local travel agents here in Chennai and the state of Tamil Nadu, including Avocet, Baywatch Travels, Footprint Holidays, who's a traveler-made agent and really sells those luxury boutique holidays from India to Australia. Then we have PK, who's now got into weddings. Pegasus is a wonderful agency run by a lady, Indumati Venugopal. And then there's an upcoming new startup. I wouldn't say a new startup, but somebody who's doing exceedingly well in the online industry space, which is Pick Your Trade. And this is a Chennai-based organization run by 2 dynamic individuals, Hari Ganapati and Srinath, and they are doing exceedingly well. So, one of our key distribution partners. Yesterday I was at their office, and the average age at their office is around 23 years of the employee, and they are a very dynamic, passionate, team who wants to be one of the largest leisure travel companies, not just in India but also in the world. So we are working very closely with Trail as well to promote Australia. And recently they promoted a 29-day trip to Australia from a couple from Cochin who wants to travel to Australia. Also, you would have read in newspapers recently that Qantas, which is Australia's national carrier, has announced the commencement of direct flights from Bangalore to Sydney. So from the 14th of September 2022, Qantas will be flying non-stop 4 times a week from from Bengaluru to Sydney. And they've also announced a codeshare partnership with Indian carrier IndiGo. So from 50 cities from India, you can fly IndiGo into either Delhi or into Bangalore, and then onwards you can fly Qantas directly into Sydney. So that's a positive development. It's going to be a A330-200 aircraft, and good number of tourists it can carry, and that's a positive development, because we all need more seats, more capacity for Indians to travel to Australia. So what I'm going to do is talk about some of the top 10 reasons as to why we believe that tourism out of India will bounce back faster, and why we believe that India will continue to be one of the fastest growing tourism markets, not just for the world, but also for Australia, and how are we working in this particular market to capitalize on this opportunity that India as a market has to offer. So the first reason is the fact that we have set a very strong foundation in India. So Tourism Australia we've had this office in India for the past 15 years now. And over the 15 years, we've done some good work working closely with the industry at both the ends to build Australia's awareness and attractiveness. And some of our key achievements include the fact that we have achieved 6 consecutive years of double-digit growth in arrivals and spend. Arrivals have grown at a compounded annual growth rate of 15%, and spend has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of 17% between 2014 to 2019. India was the fastest growing inbound market for Australia. Amongst all the people from India grew at 8%. Arrivals from India to Australia grew at 15%. So we were growing at a rate which was almost double of that of the outbound travel market. And as a result of that, our market share has significantly increased. So we've set a very strong foundation, and today Australia is one of the most sought after destinations for Indian travelers, who wants to go on a holiday. So when the PG, we also had, a lot of direct, there's some connection issue here. Can you call the technician? Yeah. How beautiful Australia as a country is. Also, since there was a lot of anxiety, depression related issues amongst the travel trade, a lot of people had lost their jobs, a lot of people who stood down, had to take salary cuts. We organized a wellness workshop for the entire travel industry. We had a huge participation. Almost 600 agents attended the wellness workshops, which were conducted by motivational speakers, mental health experts, including renowned psychiatrists like Dr. Harish Shetty, a motivational speaker like Shiv Khera, and an author, and then Birendra Aluwalia was also, who delivers these wellness workshops. So a lot of work done for the industry to address their mental health issues as well. And we've been in touch with the industry quite often. Almost on a weekly basis, we had some of the other event happening live from Australia. We had engagements with cricketers like David Warner, Brett Lee, friend of Australia, Harsha Bhogle, then Danish State, who's a Bangalore-based, comedian. So we had a lot of these exciting initiatives just to keep Australia's attractiveness. And these tourists contributed, from Tamil Nadu, the total number of tourists was almost close to 30,000. And these tourists contributed like 140 million Australian dollars to the economy. So that was the total arrivals and spend from India to Australia, and specifically from Tamil Nadu.
That was
in 2019, yes.
I want to see during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, unfortunately, there was nothing. So, Australia had shut its borders, for almost 2 years, and they opened the borders for tourists. They opened it first for students, later they opened it for friends and families of Australian citizens, and later, from the 21st of February, everybody was allowed to enter into Australia. So I was talking about the trade initiatives that we undertook, but after that, as a like aquatic and coastal experiences, sustainability, self-drive holidays in Australia. So every month we chose a pillar, and we were promoting these pillars on various social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'll share a video which was just launched. We just aired this particular campaign. It's called as the 8D video campaign, where you see Australia in 8D. So this is primarily people watch these things on their phones, wearing headphones, and also it was a new kind of a audio engineering technology where you'd not just visit a particular place but also hear the sounds of that particular place. It was really innovative campaign, which I'll just play. Who have traveled in the past, who are frequent flyer members of various airlines, and share this campaign with them. So we received a pretty good response for these campaigns, during this particular period. The next reason is, we all want more and more flights from India to travel to Australia. And as compared to the pre-pandemic, pre-COVID aviation capacity, we've seen a doubling of direct aviation capacity from India to Australia. With Qantas now commencing direct flights from Delhi to Melbourne, there are 5 flights a week. Air India is now flying daily direct from Delhi to Sydney and Melbourne, so that's almost 14 flights a week. That's Air India's launch. And as I mentioned earlier, Qantas has also announced flights from 14th of September from Bangalore to Sydney. So as we speak, the total direct aviation capacity from India to Australia has increased by almost 137%. And which is from Chennai, as of now, you have the option of flying either Singapore Airlines, Malaysia Airlines, Scoot, Cathay Pacific, Thai, and then Etihad and Emirates as well, and Sri Lankan Airways as well. So there are multiple options for Indians to travel to Australia via either the Southeast Asian hubs, or with the codeshare partnership with IndiGo, you can maybe fly to Delhi and then fly direct into Australia. So it's up to the customer, how he or she would like to travel. Every year, every 6 months, we conduct a research and we ask potential outbound travelers, what is it that appeal to them? When you think of a long-haul holiday, when you think of a out-of-region holiday, what are the factors that are important to them? And across all these parameters, whether it's world-class beauty and wildlife, whether it's food and wine, or great aquatic and coastal experiences, great beaches, safety, security, we have seen that Australia has continuously maintained the top ranking across all these parameters. Also, our research tells us that due to our marketing initiatives, Indians consider traveling to Australia much higher than any other destination. The intention to travel to Australia is also quite high. And as I said earlier, because we grew at a rate which is almost double of that of the Indian outbound travel industry, our market share has significantly increased. And from being the number 10 destination from India, we are today the number 4 destination. Like in 2019, we're the number 4 destination out of India. So we have significantly increased the market share during this particular period. Also, out of the 2.2 million high-value travelers, people who have the propensity to travel and spend significantly out of India, there are almost 1.8 million Indians, or 82% of this audience, who want to travel to Australia, who intend to travel to Australia over the next couple of years. Therefore, we believe that from a level of 400,000, this market can easily be and achieve close to around 1 million visitors by the end of this decade. So that's the plan that we have, internal target that we have set for ourselves, to achieve 1 million visitor arrivals from India to Australia by 2030. Another interesting initiative or an announcement which the Department of Home Affairs, because visa plays a very important role for travel to any destination. Therefore, the Department of Home Affairs has announced a visa application charge waiver for those whose visas expired between March 2020 and will expire by June 30th, 2022. So if you are unable to travel due to COVID, or if your visa was expiring between March 2020 and June 2022, you can reapply for your visa without paying a visa application charge. And there are hundreds and thousands of people who are eligible for this particular benefit, because imagine somebody who had a 3-year multiple entry visa in 2017. You got a visa in April 2017, and his visa expired in April 2020, and he could not travel to Australia. So that person can also reapply for his visa under this visa application charge waiver scheme, which is a huge benefit. You save almost $140, $150 per person, and if you're a family of 4 traveling, it's a significant savings, up to almost like $600 you can save on your cost of holiday if you already held a visa. As a result of this, and because there's a huge pent-up demand in the Indian market, we've seen that the visa lodgements at the immigration department are already back to 2019 levels. So that's a significant jump, as we see a hockey stick kind of a graph there on the screen, where the green line is after the announcement of the border opening, the visa lodgements have significantly increased, and they are almost at par or even higher than the 2019 levels. So we have seen a significant resurgence and a bounce back as far as the visa applications or visa lodgements at the Australian High Commission is concerned. These are tourist visa lodgements. Another initiative that the Department of Home Affairs has announced is the facility or benefit for group travel. So if there are corporate groups who want to travel on incentive programs, they offer a dedicated email ID, a dedicated visa officer, and a dedicated group ID under which you can log in, and you get a personalized, faster processing under this particular program. So we are in touch with a lot of corporates who are possibly intending to travel and take their dealers and employees on an incentive to Australia to avail this particular program. We initially thought that business events would be the last segment, or MICE would be the last segment to return back because of the size of the groups involved. But we are seeing a huge demand from the corporates who were unable to incentivize their employees or unable to incentivize their dealers during the last 2 years, are now selecting and considering destination like Australia. Also, Australian immigration does not require any personal interviews. There are no biometrics required, and you do not have to physically submit your passport. You have to just send scanned copies and upload all your documents online. So whichever part of the country you are, you can lodge your application sitting at your home or from your office. So it's a very it's a good service. They're quite proactive, and they're quite responsive as well. And this, we believe, will help us to drive a lot of corporate group incentive schemes into Australia at this point of time. During the entire 2-year period. And Australia's safety is really ranked to be the best. So Indians consider Australia to be a highly safe destination. 87% of Indians actually believe that Australia has managed the pandemic well and is a safe destination that they would like to travel to. Also, all through this pandemic, we've conducted research, and every fortnight we used to track what is the consumer sentiments like, what is the consumer confidence index, what is their travel intent, what is their booking intent, and we're also talking to them about safety of Australia. And Indians have had the highest consumer confidence. We've seen with the whole resurgence of demand and pent-up demand that we're seeing, and the way whenever we're talking to various travel agents, whether it's Thomas Cook, SOTC, Make My Trip, Pick Your Trail in Chennai, and other travel agents as well, they've seen a huge bounce back. They've seen people willing to travel because there were families who could not travel in the last couple of years. There were weddings that took place, couples who could not travel on their honeymoon. So they all want to travel to a safe destination, right? And therefore, the consumer confidence index for Indians amongst all the international markets that we are present in is the highest. And so is the travel intent and the booking intent, because we as Indians are quite a resilient lot, and we tend to forget things quite fast and bounce back to normalcy pretty soon. So this is something that we believe will help us to recover as soon as possible. Whilst we built a cooperation trade agreement between the two countries, which was attended by both